Welcome to Power of the Tribe podcast. I'm John Connors, your host. I'm also the founder and head instructor of Connors Martial Arts here in Norwood, Massachusetts. We teach Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, Muay Thai kickboxing, and mixed martial arts. Come on down. We'll get you in shape. We'll make you the badass that you should be. Just give us a call or message us, and we'll help you out. And I'm here with my co-host, Dan Robin. How you doing, Dan?
Pretty good.
Awesome.
I'd say
7?
I'd go 7.
7.1?
Nah, let's not get crazy.
Dan, I heard this. I was watching Netflix, and I heard this on Netflix. A guy said, do you want to know if you have ghosts in your house? You don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I thought that was, I think his name was Jimmy Carr, is a comedian or something.
Like there's an easy way to tell.
There's an easy way to tell if you have ghosts in your house. You don't. I thought that was pretty funny. I don't know.
I know, but this is not going to be a supernatural.
We're not doing any
episode.
supernatural bashing today. No skepticism.
Right. Or advocacy, though. We're not talking supernatural today. No
We're not.
Ghosts, no zombies.
No. But
Nothing.
I did listen to a podcast, Bulletproof Radio, Dave Asprey. I like his podcast. He usually has people on about health and fitness and some people on the cutting edge of science. But he had this woman on, and she was an expert in intuition, I think, and instinct, and that drives me crazy. I don't know why he had her on. It's this thing where
get
people
to be an expert in that.
I don't know, but I think she's got a thriving business, and she's super successful. And this idea of like people should follow their instincts. Everybody's doing that anyways.
Yeah, no,
that's all they're
thinking.
doing. They actually should stop following their instincts and start thinking a little
less
bit.
of following your instincts, yeah.
There was a guy, 2 people that do the same thing. There's a guy, Garry Kasparov, is a famous chess master.
Yeah.
I think he has a TED Talk, and that's his whole thing. You got to follow your instinct.
Will that help you beat him at chess?
Well, you get a guy who's a chess genius, and he's done chess for decades, so he follows his instincts when he's doing chess. Well, of course, he's tapping into pattern recognition and calculations that happen so fast he can't articulate what he's doing, and it works for him. But
he must be old. He was the Bobby Fischer guy, right?
I don't know.
Bobby Fischer.
Maybe I have the wrong name. Maybe it's a different chess guy.
Yeah, I don't know.
But it's maddening because you can apply that in a domain as narrow as chess, and if you're a genius and an expert, that'll work. But how do you apply that in life in general? It's just too broad. I mean, everyone is following their instincts.
Like if you get no advice on anything at all, that's what you'll do. You'll follow your instincts, right? Like with, I mean, that's your default.
That's all people are doing anyway.
Yeah.
That's just your animal reflex. People are just doing that.
We should make
There's no extra voice of wisdom. That's what they're trying to say, is like there's a secret magical voice that knows exactly what you should do.
I know what you mean. We should write a book like Stop Following Your Instincts.
Stop following your instincts, dummy.
Yeah. The other thing I've noticed, this idea of common sense, which goes with like follow your instincts, is that some people, there's a wide range on who has good common sense in different arenas, and so
So you should tell some people,
but you can't tell someone. No one thinks I don't have common sense. There's not one person listening that's like, yeah, my common sense is crap. It's just everyone thinks they are good at that. So
Dan, I got street smarts.
Yeah,
you may have book smarts.
Yeah, exactly. Who's like street smarts? No, I have none. Like like they're like everyone thinks they're good at that. So you can't. And I would guess the very bottom, the people who have the least common sense, probably think they have very high common sense.
They're pretty confident.
Because they have no idea what common sense is at all. Like they have no recognition of it at all. It's that Dunning-Kruger effect, which
the
I think
Dunning-Kruger effect. Yeah,
people with the least competence rate themselves the highest because they don't even understand the parameters. They don't even understand what it means at all.
Yeah, I think that's pretty real. When they poll people about their driving abilities, 80% of people say they're above average driving abilities. So
right.
That's impossible.
Well, that's also good things that things that you can't measure, like common sense or driving, that aren't typically measured. Everyone's going to think they're awesome.
Yeah.
Because if it's math, then you take an SAT, and you bomb that. You can't be like I'm top 1% because you kind of have evidence that you're not. You take math classes, and you're like, I didn't get all A's. I can't really rank myself at the top of
So,
that.
so this
But other
instinct thing drives me insane. There's another guy who's super famous, Gavin DeBecker. He wrote this book called The Gift of Fear. It came out in the 90s, and the thing still sells a ton of books. I don't know how many millions of copies of this thing. And he's really good writer because he was like doing the personal security details for famous people. So he pulls in celebrities, and he has all these anecdotes. But his basic message is follow your instincts.
Wait,
And
he's a security guy?
Yeah. So he's like, here he has all these stories about, somebody, a woman was like, oh, I had a bad feeling, but then I went along with this guy anyways, and something really bad happened. And he's saying, see, she should have followed her instinct. But she did follow her instinct. Her instinct said, go with the guy.
Right.
So that's his big revelation is follow your instinct. And people think he's a genius. And he'll have these big talks about it. And it's like an onion. You're just peeling away. There's no there. There's nothing in there.
But a lot of people will recognize it because that's a common thing where someone says, I hesitated, like I shouldn't have gone with the guy, and then I did, and so I knew it. But it's like for many, many decisions, you hesitate. And you know what I mean? And so then when it goes wrong, you go, I knew it.
I knew it. Yeah.
But it's like, but you always sort of thought maybe you shouldn't do things.
So this woman on the podcast, on the Dave Asprey podcast, he says, and he was slightly skeptical. I don't know where he stood on the whole. He's super open personality guy. I mean, he's done ayahuasca. He's mushroom. Mm-hmm. He's doing everything. Very successful guy, but a smart guy too. And he says, "Is your instinct ever wrong?" He asks this woman, and she goes, "Well, yes." But then I realized that wasn't my instinct. That was just some emotional decision I made. So it's like she made some decision, and if it's a good decision, that was her instinct. If it was a bad decision, well, that was an emotional decision.
Right.
It's just nonsense, complete nonsense.
Right.
It's maddening.
Well, obviously, anyone that can't answer, is your instinct ever wrong? They're off. Of course is the answer. Of course.
Well, it also shows you there's no such.
100% right.
Yeah, but there's no there.
Yeah, what is your instinct anyway?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. So I just thought that was kind of crazy and maddening. The whole instinct thing.
Yeah.
That was my beef. I had to get that out today.
That was bothering you?
That's been bothering me for years. This whole instinct thing.
So I'm trying. I can only half process. I told you one of my headphones is out.
So you have a left and a right ear. Which one is out?
My left ear. I can't hear us talking, so I can only half process everything we're saying.
Okay.
So I'm only half.
You're hearing in your right ear.
Yeah.
Which we determined your left hemisphere controls your right ear.
Right. So I'm only processing things with my left brain for the rest of this conversation. We'll see how that plays out. I don't know.
You sound very scientific in math.
Is that what's happening? Yeah, I could imagine. It's really
vibe. That's what my instincts are telling me.
I've got a whole scientific. I can only process what you're saying scientifically, mathematically.
That's good.
That's going to be for the rest of
good.
Right. Right. So
this podcast is it's not supposed to be about ghosts. It's supposed to be about tribe and martial arts, perhaps, and jiu-jitsu. So I wanted to bring in finally some jiu-jitsu talk.
Right.
In case somebody was listening.
We have had jiu-jitsu talk.
We have. I know. I'm just exaggerating.
Right.
So I bet this experience has happened to you before, but tell me what you think.
If it's a negative jiu-jitsu experience, I'm going to go ahead and say yes. Ahead of time, it has.
I don't think it's negative.
Okay. Then I'm not sure.
So I was grappling with Pat Browning, new purple belt, and man, he grabbed me.
I hate Pat, by the way. So.
Why?
Just so you know,
obnoxious?
I'm just saying, he rubs me the wrong way.
Yeah, he's like the nicest person on the planet, probably. Yeah.
I'm hoping he's listening.
Yeah. He listens.
Oh,
That's
good.
right. Shout out to Pat, man. So he grabs me in the guillotine, and I kind of throw myself over to the side to get out of it, but he catches my ankle with his legs, and I'm stuck in a really awkward position, and I'm getting choked, and he's sort of knee barring me at the same time. Like, I got a lot of...
He's got you wrapped up.
He's got me wrapped up. Dan, I think my left earpiece just went out.
So
I don't know.
Well, now we're on the same level playing field now. That's good. Keep it like that.
I don't know if this is a supernatural effect.
John and I should be on the same wavelength here.
So weird. At any rate, so I'm getting knee barred and choked out at the same time.
Pat taps tons of black belts.
He's good. He has got a great guillotine. But so
Maybe
here I
say,
am. So
Pat, by the way, Pat and I we have like this real like self-deprecating thing going on.
you too.
Yeah, we talk about
you
it.
have a self-deprecating connection.
All we do is like insult our jiu-jitsu to each other like constantly. It's hilarious. Though. But go ahead.
So he's got me. I'm trapped. I can't really move. I'm trying to get out. I'm trying to use my other foot to get my leg out, and I'm pulling on his hands with my hands, trying to not tap. And I'm having this weird feeling of kind of fear and almost panic. And I don't know if it's because I'm getting tapped or if I'm immobilized, like I'm stuck, you know?
Right.
I think if you get stuck and you can't move, that can induce a stress response, you know, where you're like, and I'm not sure why. But
you're probably less used to it than me. That's one thing. But that's the first thing that comes to mind. You're like stuck and being guillotined. I'm like, yeah, that's like every 10 minutes there for me. But
so, but I feel like I feel this voice telling me, oh my God, just tap, tap, tap. And I don't want to tap, but it's just like the voice telling me just to quit, just to give up. And I hate that. And then I'm like thinking to myself, I've been doing this for 20 years. Am I going to keep hearing this stupid voice for the rest of my life? Is it ever just going to go away and shut up?
The voice saying to tap?
Yeah, and to quit. Yeah. Yeah.
But how often do you hear it? Probably not that much. You're probably
I don't know. But I wish I wouldn't hear it at all. And I'm like, why am I hearing this? So eventually I get out. I think it took me like 2 minutes, but I finally got my leg free, and then I got out.
I remember you
it felt like
to
a
me,
long
you said
time.
I was 99.9% tapped. You were
Yeah.
like that. You were like that close.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. And it was almost like a philosophical argument in my head. Like, that's the other thing. It's like, first of all, you're fighting the submission, but then you're having an argument with some part of yourself that's telling you to quit, and you don't want to quit. But that voice is really loud that's telling you to quit.
So there's a couple of things here, though, because there's some wisdom to just, I've been saying the opposite, where I've been like, just tap, slap hands, go again. Like,
right.
You know what I mean? Because I also I'm not the gym owner and the black belt who like, you know, you're like, I don't want to tap, and because people generally don't tap me. I'm like, I consciously want to tap more, you know? I'm like, let me just not take the beating on my neck or my arms.
Right.
Like, someone has it, they have it. Let's reset and go again. So there's some truth to that too, right? To not.
No, it's probably the better way to do things. Yeah.
So then you don't have a voice in your head saying you have to tap. You just do it.
But I don't have this intelligent voice saying, "Well, you should tap now. This is the way we do things." And yeah,
you're saying your voice is. You don't like the tone.
I don't like the tone of that voice. It's weak and panicky.
It's too panicky,
and it's not.
That's a good point. I'm not tapping at a panic ever.
Right. Right.
So you're saying you don't like the tone of it.
Don't like the
See,
tone
probably a nicer person would have let go of the guillotine when you didn't tap, but Pat Browning,
dick, right?
Yeah, he's just like
he's
brutal.
sticking it to me.
Yeah, he probably just couldn't believe. He probably
let it go.
He probably didn't believe he was tapping you. I actually, you know, that's an interesting thing. It happens to me a lot. Where almost any time I've got someone in something, it feels me like either I'm squeezing a guillotine or a choke, or I've got an arm. But when people start fighting, I stop because I'm like, do I fight to finish this? I used to, you know, like way back when, but now I'm like,
instinctive kindness kicks in.
Yeah, it feels like, oh, what do I care? This guy's fighting me, and let me leave it.
I've had that with my son sometimes because we go at it. Like he tries to kill me, and I remember one time we were going at it, and I don't know what. Maybe I got like knee on stomach, and I got a collar choke. And I was really in there squeezing it hard, and he had this look of, it was so painful, you could tell. He had this look of pain, and then it triggered like my paternal instinct. I was like,
yeah,
my son, my genetic offspring is in pain, and I just
and
like let it go. And I'm doing it, like a maniac.
So two things that have happened to me in recent weeks in jiu-jitsu. I'm sure this is familiar to, maybe not to anyone, but to people that roll at all like I do, which is, one is, I kind of like we were going. It didn't feel like full strength, so I passed someone. I got like a north-south choke or guillotine or something, and then I felt like, well, maybe we're not going that hard. So like, you know what I mean? I feel a little
poor form.
Yeah, poor form for
Stick
me
it
to
to the guy.
stick it to actually tap him when we're
Right.
going sort of light. So I let it go, and then they immediately jumped on my back and tapped me, like the most brutal, like no mercy. And I'm like,
Face crushing.
I could have tapped you, like, and I let and then I'm like, well, I learned my lesson there.
I hope
And
you
then-
did.
but not really. I mean, I came out of that role like that's the lap, but a day later, I'm back to
I think it's part of your conscientiousness. You're
But also, what do
way
I get?
above average conscientious, so you're thinking about all this shit.
So then
Yeah.
I had a roll just I think yesterday or so, really recently. It was I had something pretty tight, and I'm like I'm wrenching something on someone, and I'm and they're not tapping, so I'm like,
Oh, right.
all right, fine. I let
Yeah.
it go, and then it was almost the same thing, but then they got me in something, but it wasn't. I was fighting it a little bit, and they're like, I'm just gonna let this go. I don't want to.
But they told you about it.
Yeah, they said it out loud.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
like, I'm just gonna let this go. I don't want to be a prick here, and I'm like, yeah, what? I let it go on you. Like I didn't say anything. Like you thought you. It's like,
man, you're getting
it's like-
outmaneuvered left
yeah,
and
it's
right
like
here,
he
man.
thought. So he comes away like I had a legitimate escape, but I let you go. And like to me, it was the opposite. I'm like, no.
Did he
could've
do a
stopped
little
you.
head waggle when he said it?
He was behind me, so I don't know. But it's sort of like, wait, that's not what happened. Like I let you go. Like you didn't let me go. But so
You should go to
stuff
the academy
happens.
sometime and just bring all your passive aggressive techniques and just do all that. Like grab somebody in anything, like a half-ass Kimura shoulder lock, then just go, I'm just gonna let this go.
I actually do that. I do that to the guys that I can actually tap. Like I'll do it to Marcelo or Tim or the Velasquez brothers or something. I'll just be like, I'm just gonna let this go. I'll be like, oh, we're not doing submissions, right? Like, and it's some absolute garbage hold.
Dimitri, we may have a new podcast for you. The Velasquez brothers
Yeah.
might come in. It's gonna be called Shit Talking with the Velasquez brothers, and then they're just gonna shit talk about different people at the gym. Tim, they said, is gonna be the first person.
They could be
For an hour,
each
they're just gonna
episode
tear
is
them
just
apart.
Another person.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's not encourage that.
No, but not to get off track. So this
Your
voice
voice
in my
inside.
head, I still have this voice, and I started to think about. I think I told you I was listening to this other podcast, this neuroscientist Andrew Huberman, Stanford, I think, and he was talking about the stress response in mammals, I guess, where the first response is to freeze if they think they see a predator. Then if they notice that the predator sees them, then they're either going to try to flee or hide. So it's freeze, flight, and fight is the third one.
Right. That makes sense.
You always
right?
hear fight or flight, but actually freeze is the most common response because a predator is likely going to be more powerful and even faster than you, right? So freezing is probably, the most successful initial response, which is why I think a lot of people probably freeze in sports performance or any kind of time
Yeah.
they're in the lights, So I was thinking about it, and this guy said, well, we've done some tests and blah, 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 and fight actually is a higher level of arousal than freeze. He's thinking it's very sequential, and it doesn't make sense to me because how many times have you seen somebody frightened out of their wits and they can't even move? They're completely frozen.
Well, so logically, when you're thinking of prey, I think of like all the time I let my dogs in the yard and there's rabbits and squirrels
Right.
and stuff, and they do the same thing. They freeze.
Right.
Sometimes at the wrong time, you're like, he sees you, rabbit, you better go,
Right. Right.
And then they run, and then the last second, not a rabbit, but something else will turn and fight to no avail.
Right.
At the last second. Fighting should be the last thing, because if it's a predator,
Right.
you're probably not going to win. Like my dog ran out, and there was a woodchuck got cornered, and I was running, but before I could get there, the woodchuck turned and attacked the dog.
Yeah.
Tried to run, turned and attacked, but the attack lasted a second, and then it was dead. So it's sort of like you don't want to do that, right? Like fight should
It's
be
usually
the
not
last.
going to work.
Yeah, it's like a last ditch.
Unless
like,
you're getting attacked by a kitten,
Yeah.
mountain lion
Yeah.
kitten, right? You could step on his throat.
But using that the animal
So
example,
so you-
that makes sense that you'd be most aroused at the end. Like I bet that woodchuck was most
Oh, right.
sense of arousal, like when it's fighting for its life.
Okay. I guess I'm looking at this whole dynamic and trying to understand it in order to help somebody performing in sports or fighting.
I think humans, it seems to be all screwy. I think that's what you're saying, a little like
different than animals.
Yeah, but it's like it's off with us. Because I thought that, like, I remember thinking that a lot, like back in college when it was like I have to do a presentation and you get this adrenaline dump.
Right.
And you're like, what are you doing, body? Like, that's not helping me at all. You know what I mean? Like, now it's making it harder to think. It's making it harder to focus. Like, you are biologically doing things that are not helping.
Right.
You know, and that's constant. That even applies to more literal, like, combat sports, right? Where you're like, this adrenaline dump is way too strong.
But if you're just giving a presentation, so what's going on there? Your body or your nervous system feels like if you do a bad job, you're not going to die, but you're going to lose status. You're going to lose esteem, and then you're going to have less opportunity to mate, to reproduce.
Some version of that, yeah.
It's got to. What else could it be, right? That's what it's got to be, right? So,
right, even if you know that's not the case, because it could be a presentation to
well, you logically know, but your nervous
system. That's what your body's doing.
Yeah.
And so it freezes you way too strong. But for anything, for sporting events too, right? Like, and with fighters you've seen, right?
Well, sporting events are sort of like that. It's a display of your genetic superiority. You know what I mean? You're displaying how good your genes are, how fancy your genes are, and you're more likely to get a mate. I would imagine a guy winning an MMA fight has got to be pretty exciting for a woman who may or may not be interested in him, right?
I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, it's complicated with humans, but
they have that trope in a lot of movies where a guy he sets up somebody to mug him, and then he's going to fight off the muggers, and it's like, and it shows the woman how capable he is.
But we should be clear that there's two things that we already said, which is sort of like the conscious, like, oh, this woman is attracted to an MMA fighter. That fighter's like, oh, now this will make me more attractive. But we're talking more like subconscious. We're talking about We're not talking about like this fight will make me more attractive. It's like what your at the chemical biological level is
right,
happening.
And the whole, the stress response, that's all happening in your autonomic nervous system. Anyways, you don't really have direct control of it. So all of this stuff is bubbling up where you don't have conscious control of it. You know what I mean? It's the whole instinct thing. People are making cost-benefit analysis. They're thinking about the cost and the benefits, and then they're coming up with an answer, which is instinct or whatever. But they can't tell you every line item that went into the decision.
Right.
You know?
But I thought for a while, and it applies here, that it's not. It's off. It's screwy. Like
it's definitely screwy, right?
It's basically the freeze response, right? The tension going into a fight or a speech or whatever, and it's too strong. It's
way
just
too strong. It makes no sense. Yeah.
Yeah, like an animal can't. If an animal froze like that, they'd be gobbled up constantly.
Right.
But
I also, what do you think about this, Dan? So I see so many people freeze, and they don't fight back like the woodchuck when they should.
Yeah.
Even though it didn't help them, but it was better than nothing.
Is it worth a shot?
So why do we have like this siren song, to bring up the sirens again, calling you to destruction? It's almost like, why do we have that in us? Is the universe trying to weed out the weak and leave only the strong behind,
So a couple of thoughts I have. So first of all, it is very like I've seen, I'm not sure I've seen someone freeze so badly in a fight that they couldn't fight, like an MMA fight. But you've definitely seen performances that were not great, right? For even jiu-jitsu.
I've seen fights in the streets where people have frozen so bad they've just
didn't do anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't even run away. They just got pummeled. Yeah.
Yeah. And we've seen the horror shows of like people being kidnapped or kids being kidnapped because they just freeze. Someone comes up and says, come with me, and they freeze.
They freeze and they just go with the person,
And I was talking a little bit with Pat, not Browning, the self-defense guy, Pat.
The nice guy, Pat.
Yeah.
As a distinction
as
from
opposed
Pat
to
Browning.
The brute Pat, like didn't let go of the guillotine even when you were panicking. Even when you were clearly panicking.
Make no mistake about it. Part of me was panicking. Yeah.
But and he was saying, the logic there is that at some level you're thinking, well, I'm not getting hurt yet. Like, so let me not rock this boat. It's not logical, but you're just sort of like, it's like someone says, get in the car, and you, at some level, you shouldn't, but you're like, he's not hurting me now.
I think there's something to that perhaps, but there's something more powerful going on where people are just becoming.
Because even if someone starts hitting you, sometimes people stay frozen.
Right. They become a sheep. Yeah. Yeah. They just like let themselves get slaughtered somehow. And yeah, and the people take their own lives too. And it's like, so why does that happen? And it's disturbing to me. And
yeah, I don't know. I think some of it is, I wonder if it happened though in like the year, 1200, or if it was less common, like then when things were life and death, if people were like less likely, they were like, it was part of their reality. Like, I'm going to get killed by that wolf if I don't run. So they all run, but we're now, I bet that's part of it. We're just
our
so
environment
sheltered.
is so different than it was.
But it's so sheltered. You're so little life and death for most people.
Yeah.
That they're not ready when a life and death, like for an adrenaline surge just overwhelms them. That's probably a big part of it, that you don't get a lot of adrenaline surges. So that when they come, you're just, it's numbing.
That's interesting.
You're not ready for it. That would be my guess, sort of off the top of my head.
But isn't there a phenomenon in nature where if there's a runt of the litter, the mother will shun it, like they don't even want to feed it? They just try to get rid of it?
Probably, I don't know.
Oh, you don't? I thought you'd be into that.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there are runts that live, right?
I think there are, but I think there's a phenomenon where they don't want it to live. They're like...
That would make sense, right?
Right. We only have so many, if we have a litter, we have to feed everybody. This one doesn't look that viable, so they're just like ready to, in nature, I don't know. I heard that was a phenomenon. You'd not heard that?
Yeah, sort of vaguely, but like but how would that apply to this? So you know what I mean? Like,
I'm just wondering, is the universe testing us all the time and seeing if we have any weakness? That's what I feel like. I've been training for 20 years. Why am I still feeling like I'm being tested every day? It's almost like you got to show up every day and be strong. Like you can't be weak. I don't know.
Something like, so it's like a weeding out.
Yeah, I wonder.
Because it could be, but I mean, it wouldn't be working, right? Because people aren't getting, there's not life-threatening situations for us. So even if you're sort of weak, you're not going to be weeded out.
Oh, yeah. I think you can live a completely mundane life and just check out, right? And then you're not being tested anymore. But that's maybe the equivalent of you're already quit. You know what I mean? You're already frozen yourself.
But that won't weed you out either. You know what I mean? Like nothing weeds you out now.
Just metaphorically. Yeah, you're not going to weed you out of the gene pool. Yeah. No. But it's almost like you were tested by the universe and you said, okay, uncle, I quit. I give up. You're right. I'll just quit.
Right, but it's not serving any function is what I'm saying, though. You know what I mean? That could be what's happening, but it's not working. Right, it's not. Those genes are still gonna, unless you quit, like because so you don't even get married and you don't reproduce. You quit early. But if you quit later, you already had kids. You're not gonna get weeded out. It's not gonna work.
Right.
But I remember someone that we had to give one of these presentations, and a friend of mine, he was my.
So what kind of?
What
do you mean?
Graduate school.
Okay.
So it was just in front of maybe 30 people. And a guy came in, and it was like the perfect. It sticks with me because it was a perfect example of what you're talking about. Like, he was really nervous, and then someone asked a hard question, and he got thrown off base. Like, he looked ahead in his notes to answer the question, and then he couldn't find his way back. And it was very painful to watch. Like, you saw that exactly what we're talking about. Like, the adrenaline was too much, and he couldn't refocus, and he couldn't. Later, he talked to me and he said, I couldn't even think of the words of saying, like, sorry, give me a second. I need to find where I was. Like, he was frozen.
Right.
Like this idea of being hit way too hard. Like, it was hit with so much adrenaline that he was, or whatever it is, that he was like, I can't. It was sort of like darkly funny, but he was just.
Couldn't function.
Like, he said he was like looking back at all. Like, he said he was looking through his notes, but he couldn't understand the words anymore. Yeah. Like, he'd look at the notes and like he just like, I didn't know what they meant anymore.
It's like the prefrontal cortex can't even be accessed anymore.
Yeah. That's what he said. And he was just looking, and there was this long silence, and everyone was uncomfortable. And then he eventually just, I don't know how long, a minute, just was like, sorry, or said nothing, and like just walked out, just walked away.
He just walked away.
Yeah. Then we were sitting in the class like, well, that didn't go that great. And I was laughing with him later, like when he recovered. I was like,
he dropped the mic. I'm out.
I was teasing him, but I was like, your presentation didn't go that well when you find yourself in the hallway halfway through, you're just walking down the hallway in a daze, like covered.
So how
drenched in
bad did he
sweat.
feel? If that happened to me, I would be thinking my life is over.
Yes, he was pretty miserable.
Yeah.
So I took advantage of that. But
it's at the end of the day, it's probably not that meaningful of an event in his life, right? It didn't change the arc of his life too much.
Not at all.
Yeah.
It becomes a funny story. But that's also something you learn, that these, most of the time, you get these flashes, like again, human bodies are all screwy, or brains, where they're like, this is an emergency, but it's not at all. For most of the time.
It's from a sense of embarrassment, which is like you're at a gut level, at this autonomic level, you feel like you're losing social value, right? You're losing social worth. You're falling down the ladder socially.
But that used to be way stronger, at least for me, but I imagine for everyone at younger ages, right? Like embarrassment.
Definitely.
And,
Definitely.
That's one thing you do learn, which is who cares, But some of it makes sense if you want to take it back to biologically. That would be the age. That's mating age, right? Like that's the age you want to. You don't want to be embarrassed.
No, you can't.
You get a little older, and you're like, I can be embarrassed. It doesn't matter now.
I'm not mating anyway.
Yeah. So, but that was a perfect example I remember of like it was. I thought of it at the time too. I'm like, why is your body, your brain doing this to you? Dumping these chemicals in that are just not helping anything. Like
that's
blatantly.
what I'm talking about. So I'm thinking, is that the way the universe is testing you to see if you're up to snuff or not? And if you're not, see you later. Let's get
You're
the
in
next
the
one
hallway.
in here. You're in the hallway. You're in the hallway. I like that, Dan.
You're dropping mates. There's mates in the audience going, yeah, you're out.
You're out.
I don't know.
Yeah, what were the odds of that guy getting a date immediately after that presentation?
Slimmer than at the beginning of the presentation. I had a funny one.
That would be really funny if you did that on purpose,
and
then you went up to every woman in the audience and asked them out on a date, like very soon afterwards, to see what happens.
Like we could set that up, right?
like an experiment.
You could set that up, like the fake panic, just to see, like, now how many will date me. The problem is if it's at 0 when you start, then you can't really see the effect of it. That same class, I had one similar, but it was, I don't know if it was more, it was, I had to do a presentation again. I think it might have been the same type of presentation, like the same. And mine, this was like his revenge. I did, so he said, read this chapter and these other articles that go along with it. And I just didn't. I read the chapter and then I didn't.
You didn't read the articles?
I didn't read it. And
okay.
It was really, the whole class was supposed to.
Psychology class?
Yeah.
Okay.
The whole class was supposed to do it. And I was the presenter. So obviously I was supposed to do it. You know what I mean? And somehow someone kept asking questions. And then I was like, I was pretty good at ducking and dodging and being like, yeah, well, that's a good question. But he was asking about.
Dan, I love how you did that. That's the universal stalling technique. That's a very good question.
Yeah, exactly.
You compliment the person. They feel good. They feel a little satisfied.
Yeah, I try.
Maybe I don't have to answer it if I keep telling you what.
Yeah, I try to answer things that aren't quite related to what they asked. And like most of the time that works, like a job interview or a podcast interview, a radio. Like if you just answer, most people don't really care if it even was the question they asked. But this guy was kept at it, and I was like seething with hate from. I still don't like him from the because I was just like, he's like he didn't know he was screwing me, but he kept being like, but how do you relate it to that article? And I just kept being like, well,
if you keep this up, you're going to be banned from this room.
Exactly.
You're going to pull Donald Trump on him and not let him in there.
And it reached a point where I just like he demanded a certain fact, and then there was like this awkward pause, and the professor was like, "Did you read the articles that you were supposed to read?"
The professor asked you that?
Yeah, I mean,
right
I'm in front of everybody. Yeah.
Oof.
And I measured at the time. And your first thought is to go, yeah, of course. But then I was like, these facts are coming up.
The guy's he's risking your embarrassment to ask you.
Yeah.
So he has at the very least a strong suspicion that you didn't.
Right.
So how did you answer?
I paused and then I was like, no. And then there was this long silence, and like the guy who I teased for ending up in the hallway is like has this big like satisfied smirk as I'm up there.
Was he nodding his head?
Nodding his head like with a smirk as I'm up there, just like twisting in the wind. You know,
Did you
there's
have
like
the
a
flop
silence.
sweat? Any sweat coming
I
down?
don't think
Yeah.
so, but if I didn't, that's how I felt.
Yeah.
And then there's like the seething professor's like, obviously, he's like, everyone's supposed to read these articles, and obviously the presenter himself should definitely read the article. And then there's like silence again as I'm standing up there like, I don't know
What's
what to
funny
say.
is if we had those articles in front of us today, they're probably all BS.
Yeah,
It's
they're
probably
probably
all
not even
nonsense,
correct.
not science. Just
Well, they're
complete
painful to read. If you're at academic articles, they're
Awful, right?
painful.
Yeah.
Like a 10-page article is just an ordeal.
Somebody actually sent me an article about what we're talking about, the nervous system and how it affects performance. And there's so many citations in each sentence that it's hard to get through a
There's
sentence.
graphs,
Yeah.
there's equations, there's math,
Yeah.
you know, and it's just painful to go
Yeah.
through. So I was sort of like, I'll just wing it. And I could have done it if it wasn't for that guy, for that meddling kid. You know, I would have gotten away with
You
it if
would've
it wasn't
gotten
for
away
that
with
meddling
one
kid.
guy.
And so I twisted in the wind too, but I had that same thing where at least I was trying to parry things because I didn't get locked up, you know, with the.
So
the
you
fear
were
response.
fighting. You didn't freeze. And
Yeah.
so you waited till
I
they
was
got
metaphorically
you by
fighting.
the jugular. There was
I was
nothing you
waiting
could
till
do.
the dog had me in its teeth, and then I
Yeah.
was like, well, now it's over.
Now it's over. Good
Yeah.
for you, Dan.
But at least I
That seems
paddled.
to be the way you operate. You're hanging by your ankles from a
Yeah.
bridge over a river, and you're just like.
So I was
"All
thinking
right."
about so this stress response. I was
Uh-huh.
thinking, and it's pure. Like I don't think this is my personality, but the times that I've had something very stressful happen, I feel very, very calm. Did I tell you? I don't remember if I even said in the podcast. We had a time in my 20s where we were on the highway. My girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife, like, and the tire blew, and we just skidded
No.
out. We were going 70 miles an hour on
Wow.
like on 84 in Connecticut,
Uh-huh.
and I was sleeping in the passenger seat.
Whoa.
And suddenly she felt like the car goes, "Tut, tut, tut, tut," and she's like, "What is?" And I just enough time to like wake up, and I'd had popped tires before, and I'm like, just enough time. I'm like, "That's a tire. You have to." And then like the tire, like it just blew, and the car skidded out.
Really?
And, like it went,
Which tire was it? Do you remember?
left rear driver's side.
And that caused you to skid out.
It went out in that direction. So
Huh.
I know it's a podcast, so people
Yeah.
can't see, but it was like the driver's side rear went out, and we ended up.
went up forward.
And we were in the middle lane, and it was just traffic everywhere.
Shoot.
So I remember, but what I remember is, so we were 180 degrees over into the right lane,
Uh-huh.
if you can picture, because we were kind of
So
going.
now you're going sideways, 70 miles an hour.
Like, sideways, like 20 feet or 15 feet. I was like the windshield of an 18-wheeler through our windshield. But the whole reason I'm mentioning that is I remember totally calmly, like thinking, well, that's something you don't get to see every day. Like, you know, like a truck going 70 miles an hour, 20 feet in front
coming
of you.
at you.
Yeah, coming at you.
Oh,
'Cause
so I'm confused.
Yeah,
so there's
we
no
were
median,
backwards. We
there's
were
no median strip. Oh, no. Oh,
we
you're
were in-
backwards, so you're
we
looking
were
at a truck
backwards.
behind you.
Yeah, we were backwards.
And
At
you're
that
like, huh.
point. Yeah.
That's what you don't do every day.
Yeah.
Do 70 miles an hour and reverse
Yeah.
the highway.
Yeah, exactly.
See a truck following you.
Exactly. And then we kept going to the right and hit a guardrail. And there was like this big smash, you know, obviously. And I just remember well, first of all, I remember also when we were skidding, I remember thinking, is there anything I can do to increase the chance that we live right
Okay.
now? The problem in that case was like, the answer was no. I couldn't
Yeah.
think of anything. You know, like, but if I had to buckle a seatbelt or something, I would have. You know what I
Right.
mean? I just felt this dead calm. And then when it hit the same thing, it hit the guardrail. My wife had a more normal reaction of like being upset.
Sure.
And I was just like, let me turn off the engine in case there's some kind of fire. And I was like, we're alive. So,
Wow.
but
Did
again,
the airbags go off?
78 car or something.
No.
No airbags.
And you guys weren't hurt?
No, nothing. Because we hit backwards into the guardrail. So
Wow.
it messed up the back of the car.
And you didn't hit any other.
And then I was
cars.
like, let's get out because we're in a weird spot here. Like,
That's
I don't want to
dangerous.
live through all this and now get smashed. So I was
Right.
like, let's get out of the car, get on the other side of it. And I just felt this total calm. And it's not like I'm this dead emotion person, right? Like,
Well, you kind of are.
well, that's a good thing about being dead inside, John. Yeah. But I think, so anytime I just get this like real bad.
Now, let me ask you this.
I think I get nervous for much less stuff. I feel like someone could cut in front of me, like at the grocery store, and I might be like, what the hell? Like, get like
I wonder
stressed
the
out.
fact that you were asleep had anything to do with your less emotional response.
I don't think so,
You don't
just
think
because
so?
of other
Yeah.
stories I've had.
Did your life flash before your eyes? Did you have a series of scenes? No.
Nothing like that. Like I said, it was like, well, like I was like looking around, you know what I mean? It was like, I wonder if I could brace myself or something. Like, nah,
Right.
that won't work. Like, that's what I was thinking. Like, I was just thinking clearly. It all seemed slow, like.
Yeah.
But I think I said remember a while ago we did muggings, like one of the first, and how I walked away from a few.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Did I say the one where a car pulled up? Like, I think I might have.
I don't remember that one, Dan. Give
so
us that one again.
I can really quickly say it was.
No, don't be quick.
Okay.
Take your time.
So I was at a friend's wedding, and I got back to the hotel at like 2 a.m.
And what city is this?
This is Miami.
You're in Miami.
I might have. I think it's a
Sounds good.
less scary sounding city. I was like Fort Lauderdale or something, but like.
That's actually more scary to me.
Is
But
it?
anyway, so 2 a.m.
And I realized
coming back from a wedding.
I was in the hotel and I realized I had no cash.
Okay.
And I'm like, I got to go to the airport tomorrow. I need a taxi. I need, all this stuff. So I'm like, you know what? Let me go get the cash now.
You're going to go to an ATM.
I remember, yeah, I'm going to go to an ATM. So I remember there's a strip mall and a cash machine somewhere I'd seen earlier. So I'm walking down. So now I'm a ways away from the hotel. As far as
What are you wearing? A tuxedo?
A suit.
A suit.
Yeah, I don't remember. I think it was just a suit.
Okay. And how intoxicated are you? You're pretty lit.
7.
That's a
I
Dan
would say
Robbins 7, Dimitri. Okay? You think you don't get hangovers?
So,
Right.
but that makes me definitely a target, right? I'm in a suit and I'm kind of like,
Yeah.
So I get near so picture a strip mall, like I'm on the sidewalk and it's off.
So 7-Eleven there?
No, yeah, but nothing's open.
Okay.
And there's a crowd of young, rough-looking teenagers at the ATM.
At the ATM.
At the ATM.
Hmm.
So, I see them and I'm like, I cannot walk up to that ATM.
No.
It's not even
Not a good
It's
idea.
like I can't even imagine them letting me go. Like them just me walking up like, hey, fellas, and them not, like.
Probably the move would be to immediately turn around, go right back to your hotel.
That's probably what I should have done.
Yeah.
But what I thought instead was I'll keep walking. They'll drive away because they had a car.
Oh, I see.
They'll drive away. I'll circle back. I'll get my money.
Yeah.
So I keep walking, and I'm like, here's what I'll do. It was like long Florida blocks, and I'm like, I'll get to the end of the block, and then I'll
come back.
I'll go back. So I'm thinking about whatever, just daydreaming, and I'm like, I wonder if they're gone. And I turn around, and I have one of these moments where, like, really, you're just like, what am I seeing? And the car is now, the guys are all in the car.
What do you mean on the car?
The guys are in the car.
In the car.
The car is creeping up on me.
How many guys do you think? 4 or 5?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
With the headlights off.
With the headlights off.
Off.
At 2 a.m.
At 2 a.m. creeping up on me. And
they're stalking you. It's like a
the
giant.
passenger side doors are both cracked open. With some, like.
The front and rear passenger doors are
as
open.
they creep up.
What kind of car was it, Dan?
I couldn't tell you. Some kind of American model, I believe. And but I'm not a car guy. I don't know.
Okay.
I didn't care at the time.
Right.
And so at a moment of like, what
is going on here?
am I seeing? And then I'm like, this is really bad.
This is not good.
Yeah. But then I had the sense like it was really close to me when I saw it.
How
like,
close? 15 feet? 20 feet?
25, something
25.
like that. So it keeps rolling up. It rolls up on me. And I had the sense to be like, if I run, it's just going to drive up to me, So I wait. It gets close, and I run.
Bolt in the other
I
direction.
bolt past it.
Behind, you'd reverse direction.
Yeah, reverse direction past it. So when I go past, it slams on the brakes, and the doors fly open. Guys jump out, and I just run. I'm just running. So the next question everyone always asks makes sense, but they're like, did they chase you?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know. Because I was
like,
just running.
Feet don't feel.
Yeah, I run. And I'm in like shoes. But I was luckily younger too, so I could run faster. But I was also totally calm. And it was almost like this dreamy, like I was thinking things. And one of the things, one thing I was thinking is, can I run faster? I was thinking, I've got to run as fast as I can right now. Which, when are you ever thinking that? Like maybe high school track or something. But it was like, I have to make sure I'm running as fast as I can. And I was just calmly thinking, like,
is there anything that you did? Did you like go, I got to push through my big toes or something? Or
I was just trying to pump my arms.
Yeah.
But I also ran across the road and over the median, so the car couldn't turn around and get me. So I'm like,
what kind of median was it? Was it a little walled or just grass?
I think mostly grass, like curbs though.
Yeah.
That's the way I remember it. It's been a little while. But so I'm just running, and I remember thinking, like, well, this next few seconds is going to tell the story. You know, like
we're going to pretty much figure out what's going to happen.
Exactly.
Here
like I might feel someone just smash into my back.
Right.
I could feel a bullet hit my back. I don't know. But I was thinking that at the time, like real calm.
So did you serpentine at all?
I did not serpentine. Okay. I just ran. This wasn't an alligator chasing me, if it wasn't clear. It was
but if somebody's shooting at you, I think it's a good strategy to serpentine.
That is a good point. I might have if the bullets started flying. Yeah. But I didn't even turn around. I thought of that too, though. That's a perfect example of just calmly. I was like, don't turn around. That'll just slow you down. Like,
let me ask you this,
matter.
Dan.
Just run.
Did you have a voice say, hey, man, just quit. Just stop running. They're going to get you anyways. Just lay down.
Definitely not.
Definitely not.
That's a different situation. I was just the funny thing about that too is that all of a sudden I was like, where is the nearest civilization? Like, it seems so far. I'm like running, and it's just all empty strip malls and I'm like,
where are the good people?
I can't believe. I was like, I will
where
run
are the
into
good town
the
folk?
nearest house, the nearest apartment, the nearest store. I will go in. And I'm like,
you just want witnesses.
I'm just running. Like, where is everything? You know, it was just so dead. And then I finally got to an apartment. And that's the other thing. You start going, how long can I run? Like on a movie, they have these long chases, but you can't sprint. You know, you can sprint all out for a minute, and then you can sprint 2 minutes.
You got to start,
It starts getting
downshifting to some other gate, right?
Yeah. Well, if you run 400 meters, right, that's a minute.
Yeah.
That's a good minute, and you're burning by the end of it, right?
Oh, man.
So that's going to be a minute. 2 minutes, you're downshifting a little. 3 minutes, you're
jogging.
Yeah, you're jogging, right?
Yeah.
So, but I was thinking they're not going to run. They're not going to like break into an 800-meter pace to catch me. That's why I was like, it's going to be the first 30 seconds. They're going to.
Yeah, I would think the first 50 yards, if they don't catch you, they're probably going to say the hell with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I ended up running into a building, like just out of breath, like guys are chasing me, but I felt totally calm, like totally. You know when I was nervous? When I left the building, I was like, I waited an appropriate amount of time, 10 minutes.
What kind of building?
Apartment building.
Was there somebody in
the
building?
Security.
There was security, like in the lobby.
Yeah, but it was just someone behind a
guy getting paid minimum wage.
Yeah, behind a desk. But I figured
going to walk away when these guys
the
came in anyways. Yeah.
But they didn't follow me, and I didn't see him. But when I was nervous, wasn't at all during any of that. It was 10 minutes. I waited 10 minutes. He said, "Should I call the cops?" And I said, "Forget it. It's too, I got to go to sleep. I got a flight."
Right.
They didn't do. What am I going to tell them? I didn't really get a good look. I don't know the license plate.
You don't even know if they chased you.
I don't know the car. Yeah, I don't even know if they chased me. So
technically, it wasn't even a crime.
Yeah, exactly. What could they even be charged? They could say we didn't do anything. And so and they'd never be caught anyway.
Right.
So I said, forget it. I'll walk back to my hotel. It's been 10 minutes, and I got spooked on the way to the hotel.
All right.
Because it's 2:30 in the morning, and I'm like, it's quiet again, and I'm walking down the sidewalk. It was still a little ways back to my hotel.
Oh, I would have totally jogged back. Yeah, I would not.
I was kind of half jogging.
I would have minimized the time spent on those lonely sidewalks, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's what it was. And they were probably long gone, but that's
some other group might come up.
Well, what's the odds of that?
Not that bad. I think they're pretty good. You kidding me?
Maybe if it's that kind of neighborhood.
Yeah, 2 a.m., a group of guys in a car driving down the road. It's not that uncommon. One time my son came home. I don't want to embarrass him, but he had too much to drink, and he was younger, and he had walked home at 2 or 3 in the morning. And I said, this is very dangerous because if a group of guys in a car pull up, you're very vulnerable. And I think there's this thing where a group of guys that have a few drinks in them see somebody they don't know. Yeah, it might be time for them to be aggressive to you.
Yeah.
I don't think that's that uncommon.
Yeah, and so the thing about these situations too is that it contributes to why people freeze, and it's that they're weird. You're not accustomed to them, right? Like some people live that life where that happens all the time.
Well, you had the classic response, animal response, where you just were like, I am out of here.
Yeah, just right. Well, at least I did that, you know, as opposed to. But I actually understand someone that would just freeze, because I think this is what people underestimate. Two things. One is I sorted out the story to be able to tell it, but at the time you're like, what is happening?
Oh,
like
right.
you're not thinking like, oh, there's those guys at the ATM. Those are the same guys in the car.
Well, you had all those childhood experiences where you were attacked and abused. That you're onto it. Yeah, you're like, why? That guy's putting a hoodie on. He's getting ready to do something to me. He's not just like suddenly cold on his neck. You know?
Yeah, I just think it's being a little alert. But I didn't have like a rough childhood. Or anything.
No, but I'm saying you are probably better than the average person of picking up on those details that tell you you're entering into a dangerous situation.
But like if I didn't turn around and see the car, it might have been too late. You know, I might have seen them when they jumped out and been like,
there's nothing you could have done about that. Yeah.
But
you did look behind you.
Yeah.
So you did say, let me take a look.
Hopefully. And that might have been lucky too. I don't know. But I also think that people underestimate how confusing that is. That your brain goes, what is happening?
Yeah.
Like, what is this?
Right.
And then there's almost a feeling of like, I don't want to look stupid running if these are just kids like coming to ask for directions, or you know what I mean? Like if they,
right.
you know, and it's not smart.
Well, I think there's one part of that whole sort of gift of fear instinct thing where you're right. If you grow up in a very civilized society, you're conditioned to say, oh, don't expect the worst from people. Everyone's at the heart, everyone's a nice person, this type of thing where you could miss some cues of danger.
But I think you also have like we said, that panic response is inflated. I think you also have a fear of embarrassment that's 100 times stronger than it should be. And I think there's a real strong, I don't want to look like an ass running away from an innocent car and them laughing at me. Like, look at that guy running away. Do you know what I mean? When I was pulling it for directions.
Yeah.
And I think, but people can.
You don't want to look easily spooked.
We can have, we can have. Well, there's people, you know, if you're in a theater and like a fire breaks out, there's going to be a pause where everyone goes, I don't want to look like an ass getting up if that's like part of the stage show. You know, if that's like a fog machine, I don't want to look stupid. People will look around like, if that's a fire, why is no one getting up?
Oh, yeah. They're going to look for cues. They're going to look at everybody else. Are we running? What's going on?
Right.
Yeah.
And why not? And that's why I always try to tell my kids from when they were young, is like, just get out. Don't worry about looking stupid. And we talked about it a long time ago, I think, on here, that fire at the station in Rhode Island.
Oh, yeah.
There was I
don't think we talked about it.
We didn't?
No.
So the station in Rhode Island, there was a Great White concert. There was a heavy metal band from way back when. And it was horrible. Like many, many people burned to death.
Yeah.
And there's a video I just think everyone should watch. And if you have your kids the right kind of kid, you should show them, which is someone was standing at the stage with the camera, and the video has like the time running off in the corner, and the camera picks up the fire starting, and from the start of the fire, the like a counter starts going off, like 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. That person calmly sees a fire, it's all on film, and walks out of the arena and is fine. And by the time that counter gets to like 145, there's people dead. Do you know what I mean? Like there's people, you know, the place is engulfed, and there's
I don't understand the point.
The point is that the people that if you stand around and go like, what is that pause?
Also, some people saw a fire, but they
like,
weren't alarmed enough to start.
No one stampeded. People were like, what is that? Is that you heard people talking as the camera?
Is that part of the show or something?
As the person walks past them, they're going, whoa, that's not good, or you know, stuff like that. Like, whoa, what? You know, like it's like go, you got to go.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And then a minute later, it's too late. Like if you wait 30 seconds, you can be like, oh wait, we got to go, and then you're in the stampede. You know, and I'm not saying that.
When did that happen, Dan? Do you recall?
In the 90s, I believe. Because I remember Great White was already like past.
I think it was like
past the age of heavy metal. Like
I think it might have been 1999 or something, right? Late 90s.
Because I remember that was like a pretty decent sized band that was like in a bar now.
Yeah, I remember being at an MMA show back in like 2000, 1999. Was really early, and everything was sort of like wasn't legalized yet, so it was a little. And we were really packed into some place, and I thought, let's stay near the door because if something goes wrong, we can't get out.
Yeah.
This isn't good, you know.
It's a horrible thing to see, but it's that lesson in like just get moving. Like that pause, that way, and any of these things. Like if that car pulling up on me, if I paused,
You think the
and said,
pause is a lot to do with just confusion because we're not in these situations that often.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think people people aren't good at picturing things in general. That's a whole other topic. But picturing hypothetical situations. That's why you get every guy saying like, I would have punched him in the teeth, and it's like, you wouldn't have. Like I would have. Everyone was a hero in their own mind, and then the situation comes, and they're.
It's a little different.
I might have given you this other example. I know we're actually running late, right? But one quick example where I was in a movie theater. I told you this one, so it's not much of a. It's just a real 10-second story where I was sitting with someone watching a movie, and a guy across the way. Suddenly, there's someone walking up with a flashlight that I thought was a movie usher.
Yeah.
And they stopped.
Do they have those anymore?
I don't know.
Yeah.
They stop a couple rows up from me and shine a flashlight, and somebody goes, "There you are," and just starts pummeling. Some just start punching him. I'm watching a movie, and I'm like, "What the hell?
What's going on?"
I guess he's with a girl.
Love triangle thing?
So there's I think so, because a girl starts screaming, and they're like, "What the?" And they're yelling,
There you are.
fighting, and they go out into the lobby. And I have all these guys, especially younger. These guys are like, "What'd you do?" I'm like, "I didn't do anything." What do you mean? Like, first of all,
who the hell knows what's going on?
I have
right?
no idea. And part of it is even what I'm saying is like, you don't know what's happening. You're like, some of it is even, you're not ready to jump up to the rescue. You're more sitting there thinking, what am I seeing? What is even this? What is even happening?
Yeah.
And later, by the time they're in the lobby, you go, oh, it looked like there was a girl there and a guy. And
that's confusing.
You're sorting it out. But at first you're going, I can't even see what's happening.
I could have just been an overzealous usher.
I don't know. Yeah. Get your feet down off the... Yeah, but I think I've thought this a lot, that people underestimate how confusing things are and how thrown off you are.
If you have that really strong stress response, you can't think straight. That gets shut down a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Dan, that was another awesome episode.
I feel like we were just starting on this topic.
It seems like it. Yeah. I have a hilarious movie theater story that I can tell next time.
We could pick up the whole topic because, like I said, I felt like I got off on some stories, but like
Dan, I love
we barely
stories.
started it.
Yeah. Yeah, we've kept Dimitri here over time, so we should wrap it up. So thanks, everybody, for listening. Please share and rate and tell your friends about this podcast.
I have a quick shout-out for...
Who do you want to shout out to, Dan?
I was thinking shout-out for people that give us thumbs up and likes.
Yeah,
and things
Mike
like
Gould always says nice things about the podcast. Thank you so much, Mike. Oh, we got to mention Craig Lewin again, too. We always mention him. If you guys want to learn how to swim any distance, but particularly long distances, reach out to Craig. He's a great teacher. I got to get back with him and learn how not to sink to the bottom of the pool.
Give us some likes for the shout-out.
Right. Well, Craig's good about that. And Rob Curran is always a good supporter. Thank you, Rob, of the podcast. I'm trying to see who else is one of our typical people that like.
If we miss you, we'll do it next time.
We'll do it next time. Yeah. Dan Robin always likes.
Yeah.
Thanks. And
He's
Lucy
a big
does
fan.
Usually.
My wife's not. Yeah.
Yeah. But thanks, Rob. All right. Awesome, guys. Thanks. Another brilliant episode, Dan, and we'll see you folks next week.